Well, Ulysses, we love when it happens, and it's happening again. Another mailbag episode.
Time to pick out stuff from the mailbag, and let's talk about it right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Don't forget to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And as we're doing right now, mailbag questions. We love them. We want them. LockedOnRays@gmail.com. Voice memos, priority and preferred if you're able to. All right, let's get right into this next series of questions from our listeners out there. This first one from A Mullen 836 on Twitter. I should note these are all Twitter questions that have rolled in. Other than the catcher position, do you think the Rays need to improve anywhere else position player wise? I think as far as position players go, the only real need is for a catcher.
Thank you for writing to us, Mullins. I think that's Alex Mullins.
It might be.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about it. Shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on there? Number one, is Wander even going to play an inning this year or for the rest of his life in MLB for the Rays? Number two.
Which, before you get to that, before you get to number two, I should say, and I know we've brought this up, periodically since the whole situation broke down back in, I guess, August it was now. Mm-hmm. And the quote unquote major development that he has returned to the Dominican Republic. What is your confidence level? 1 to 10. 10 being, oh yeah, he's playing. He will be available for spring training. Game 1 of the regular season, he's going to go off without a hitch. Or 1 being, yeah, I think he's probably never playing another ball game again for the Rays or in Major League Baseball or maybe anywhere else for that matter. Where are you at? Are you at a 1, a 10, a 7, a 3, a 5?
I'm going to give you the politician answer. 5.
Okay.
Right in the middle. It hasn't swayed me at all. I'm still at a 5. Like, it's just, it's really 50-50, man. I this could go one way, the other. Like, there's nothing to know, and we can't even lean. And if anybody's telling you a 10 or a 1, I can accept a 6. I can accept a 7. I can accept a 3. I can accept a 4.
Right.
But anybody that's like 9, 10, 1, and 2 about this situation, it's like, that's just your opinion, man.
Right.
Very Lebowski. It's, you don't know anything. Nobody knows anything. Probably Wander doesn't even know anything. Yeah. He knows what happened or what didn't happen.
Right.
But the actual result, the outcome, nobody knows. So anybody that's like stunch and about basically everything in life, don't believe those people.
We would love to ask that question, like off the record, private room to Eric Neander and other front office folks of, okay, real talk here. What's going on with Wander? Have you already developed a contingent plan? But regardless, back to your point, I might have lost your number 2, whatever it is. So
number 1, is he ever going to play again? Number 2, what's the deal with Taylor Wallace? Is that your option right now to succumb my mental health for 400 at bats of Taylor Wallace? Like, that's what we're doing? Or is the plan Caminero? Is Caminero going to be given the option as a 21-year-old to say, hey, we're not just going to pigeonhole you at third because we don't want to. Like, let's try you out at shortstop. My goodness, the Yankees tried Gleyber Torres at shortstop. It was an awful experiment, but they tried it, and now everybody knows, hey, you know what? Glaber cannot play short. Let's not do that. Give that shot to Caminero. Are they going to do that? So all of these things that I'm telling you are question marks, Alex Mullins. So you're like, okay, but where's the answer? The answer is we need something else in that, somebody else that can cover shortstop, because we don't know if Caminero is going to be an option. We don't know if Taylor Wallace is their number one option. We don't know if Wander Franco is going to play an inning. So you have to look at shortstops, and there are two names that intrigue me.
Okay.
Number one, and this one's something that you've said before, IKF.
Right.
I like IKF because of the positional flexibility. You don't have Vidal Brujan. Now you have IKF, who is 1,000 times better than Vidal Brujan. He's an actual major leaguer. He can cover you anything. The Yankees actually got him to play center field, for God's sakes. I mean, and he was apparently like just about average. That's pretty good for somebody who just picked it up. So like this is an athletic guy, a high average guy, not a lot of pop. Who gives? We have Isak and Randy. So you know, I would be intrigued with IKF, and the second name I would be intrigued with would be a very big bounce back candidate, and that is a dude that can't take a punch. Tim Anderson. Yeah.
It would be intriguing for sure. I don't know if he necessarily fits the culture of what the Rays are looking for. But I guess my standpoint on this is, how many infielders do the Rays have on the 40-man roster? They've got like a dozen right now. And your points about Wander and Taylor Walls are well taken. I mean, Taylor Walls may not even be ready for opening day, but unless they have another idea, I'm just wondering if it's, you know, say that Wander is out of the equation temporarily, that they just roll with, hey, we're going to play Junior there for a game or two, rotate it with Paredes, Basabe, give Greg Jones a shot, like just have them hold the fort and then see if Carson Williams can develop quickly enough and then make a move there. Look at what the future of the shortstop position is going to look like instead of finding a stopgap like IKF. That's my standpoint on it. I mean, I'm all for, at this point, 2024, giving guys at bats and opportunities and some action under their belt. Yeah, let's give Aranda some role. Let's give Austin. Let's give all these guys, you know, an opportunity here or there if you can stomach that. But I
don't dislike this idea.
The catching position is the big one. Yeah.
I don't dislike the idea of treating 2024 as like, yeah, let's compete, but not that hardcore. Like, let's actually like see what we actually got. Like, can we not do a Cronenworth to Aranda, even though Cronenworth has kind of, you know, slipped up a little bit, but I want to see what Aranda is. Let's give at-bats to Mead. Let's give at-bats to Caminero. Like, I do like that sentiment. The problem is most fans are going to hate that.
Right. And I understand that, but at some point you got to see who you're going to be able to roll with, you know, in 2025, 2026, 2027.
And what better way to do it, right? Because you don't have McClanahan, you don't have Springs, you don't have Rasmussen for the whole season. So it already might be an 85. It already might be an 84 win to 92 win season.
Right.
So might as well kind of just see what you have.
Yeah. And that's kind of what they did with the catcher position of, hey, let's throw Pinto into the fire, so to speak, and give him an opportunity. And look what he's done. He's thrived to this point, which, again, only one catcher on the 40-man roster. So that has to be addressed in some shape or form. Yeah. I know that we've talked about it before, and some guys that are rumored to be traded are guys like Higashioka and Christian Vasquez. And then there's a slew of free agent catchers out there on the market as well, like ex-Rays, Kurt Casale and Mike Zunino, although I don't think they're returning to a Rays uniform. But yeah, that's something that needs to be shored up. It's funny because I was looking at the free agent catchers. And one thing that kind of caught my eye, and I should note that Tom Murphy signed with San Francisco 2-year deal, so he's off the table. And there's some other guys that have signed deals as well over the last several weeks. But so many catchers have had like one really strong year, and then they fall out of style and fall out of favor fast. Whether it's got to be the position just getting beaten up and worn down over time. But like 2019, Jorge Alfaro and Roberto Perez, they were all the rage. And look at them now. Like they're hunting for offers. Well, Alfaro signed a minor league deal. And then I think Perez is still, well, he also signed a minor league deal. So it's like these guys who were, borderline all-star caliber talents are now, clawing for an opportunity just 3-4 years later. So it's interesting to see how, the ups and downs of that position are, but I don't know, maybe.
Is it more volatile than relievers, or is it just as volatile?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think probably similar volatility. I mean, you see a lot of catchers that you just need catch. You got to find somebody's got to be able to sit back there and take the lumps and the punches, and might just contribute a 640, 650 OPS. I like a Martin Maldonado. Like I wouldn't hate that move just for the guidance and veteranship aspect of things. He's not going to hit a lick, but if he can impart some valuable wisdom to the pitching staff and to the young catcher or catchers, I'm cool with that.
You know what I'm cool with too? Finding a franchise catcher, a young guy who can just mash. And you know what? The Royals have that. Freddy Peralta. Okay, this guy hit 281, on base 320, slugging 460. Yes, he strikes out a bit, 21.3%, but in today's game, that doesn't really matter. 108 WRC plus last year. Dude, 9 bombs. I like this kid. He's arbitration eligible in 2026. Of course, it's going to be a pretty penny to get a guy behind the dish who can hit. He's actually in the Venezuelan league. He started, then he got a little bit hurt. I think it was in the hand, a hand injury, a thumb, but he might come back for the playoffs for that team right there in the back, Leones de Caracas, which is my team. And so I really like this guy, and I know it would be a pretty penny to get him, but I think somebody in the last episode was talking about Isak for Luzardo, which I know.
Mm-hmm.
It would take something like that for Freddie, but you're also getting offense back. So that's intriguing to me because we've never had a catcher, dude, like Wilson Ramos, like Travis d'Arnaud, that one Zunino season. That's it, man.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that. Look, it's hyperbole, but a version of Joe Mauer, a version of Buster Posey, a version of, some store grade thing of that. I guess, look, I like Freddy Peralta, but I think the issue is the Royals like him too, and they're probably more likely or wanting to part ways with Salvador Perez than Freddy Peralta. And then you see the Royals, like, they're spending money. It looks like they're actually, having an eye on competing in 2024. So maybe the move was to try to trade for him last season at some point, but now it could be more or less a lost cause just because it looks like they're at least showcasing that they're trying to go somewhere. But a Freddy Peralta type would be nice. But I don't know. I keep reading the tea leaves, like hearing from the Rays, maybe Pinto they think is that guy, and they just need another guy that can lop off 40, 50 games to give him a break here and there.
Well, if Rene Pinto is a guy that not only frames well, but then he has some pop and he has like sort of good stick, then I would not be opposed to a Martin Maldonado where you get the leadership, the veteran and the good, glove and clutch hitting, at least in the playoffs, from him. So that I would not be opposed to that.
And I know, we got a question later on mentioning Mitch Garver, but that's the thing. He's going to want a multi-year deal, and just like many catchers, he just can't stay healthy. He was like Travis d'Arnaud before he got to the Rays. It was one thing after another, and you just can't bank on him to be available and to play games. And that's kind of where the value's tied up there. All right, we have more to discuss, but first we have to tell you something very important. That is this: score early this NFL season with FanDuel. They are America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is literally no better time to get in on the action than right this very moment. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options such as spreads, player props, over, unders, and more. So go ahead, visit FanDuel.com/lockdown, LOCKEDON, to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, they are an official partner of the NFL. Okay, next question here from, well, if I can pull it up, I just lost it, but I am reconvening it right now. John, obviously a burner on Twitter, says, if Harold Ramirez was traded, would you want the return to be an MLB player that takes his at-bats, or we get a rookie league player and give his at-bats to Meade or someone else within the organization?
Boom. We saw the future because definitely talked about this earlier.
Yes.
I would not get an MLB player. I mean, depending on who the MLB player is, but if it's going to be a Harold-esque player, which by that I mean no real defensive flexibility, same kind of bat production, then no, I would not do a 1-for-1. I would get somebody that could be a lottery ticket, a good lottery ticket, especially like some kid with some real good stuff, maybe a lefty, like an Askew kind of guy.
So you want, if the Rays were to trade Harold, you're like, you got to get a pitcher of some sort in return.
Pitcher, give me a pitcher, and if it's a starter, even better, obviously. But you know that those might be costlier than just Harold Ramirez. But if that's an opportunity, that's great. But no, I would just then. That would make me so happy as a fan because now I'm like, Meat's going to get at bats. Caminero is going to get at bats. That would free up a big space because now you have the positional flexibility. Oh, you want Yandy to stay healthy? Boom. Yandy's your DH. He will hit no matter what. Oh, first base is open. That's a problem. Not anymore. You put Isaac Paredes at first. Oh, it's a lefty. That's starting, and you don't want Brendan Loud to face a lefty, boom, you put Caminero at second, or you put Meade at second, and you have Caminero at third when Meade is at second. Whatever, you have now at bats to give, positions to be open for these guys that we need to see what they are about.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it makes a ton of sense in my eyes. Well, I'll just say this, that if the Rays are to trade Harold, again, that's really another salary dump of, you don't want to pay him $4.5 million, $5 million, whatever he's going to get in arbitration. You're not finding a cheaper, more productive version of Harold in trade or free agent market. Like, he is great value for what he provides, even though he doesn't have a defensive home. And just like with the first segment, like we talked about earlier, I just, as much as I, like what Tommy Pham can provide, or what even go as far as, I don't know, a Brandon Belt or a Jock Peterson, like let's use that DH position, if you are to trade Harold, as a revolving door, giving an outfielder, an infielder, a young position player rest or at bats, just using it as okay, so-and-so played 4 or 5 days in a row, it's his time to DH, but we still want him to get at bats. That's kind of my eye for it. Hey, Rayleigh, you're not on the field today, go be the DH. Josh Lowe, man, you've been playing hard these last couple of days, just sit on the bench and give us at bats. DeLuca, same thing. I mean, just plug and play whoever you want, somebody new each and every time into that spot, into that role. But like the thing about, hey, you're going to trade Harold Ramirez and then sign, Adam Duvall or something, that, you're going to sign a guy who's in his mid-30s where there is a point, and you may not know when that point is, of when he regresses to the point of nobody wants him anymore.
It
And
can
that's
be to the
what the Rays
point.
want to avoid.
That point can come rather quickly, Kevin, as we all know that you can trade for a guy who is an all-star the same year that you trade for him, and then he doesn't perform like you want him to, like you expect him to. It can come quickly. I thank you for putting the Adam Duvall, because like that's exactly what the Rays would do, is get an Adam Duvall type,
Right.
and it which would be a good acquisition. Nothing bad about Adam Duvall. Like he's a fine player, but at this point, with where the Rays are pitching wise, where it does seem thin, it's kind of playing with house money as a fan. I'm like, but it seems like the Rays are good enough that you can give Mead and Caminero and Aranda and Basabe the lumps. Like take your lumps, because our window is still open, that we can still succeed. And we want to see what you have, so that in 25, 26, 27, the experience that you gain from 24 would be huge.
Right. Yeah. Now, having said that, look, this isn't going to happen by any means, but if the Rays, if their hypothetical was, okay, we're trading Glass now and Margot and trading Ramirez so we can sign this year's version of Freddie Freeman, not saying this guy or these guys are the same caliber, but like a Matt Chapman, Cody Bellinger, then it would be understandable. Like, okay, you're finding a player that can be really, really, really impactful versus just platoon DH, really. So,
yeah. Platoon DHs are out of vogue, out of style, especially if you're a Rays fan. Like, no, give me time to see the boys that we have already. Because look at the 40-man roster. It's like, I want to see what all of these guys have. Some of them might pan out, some of them might not. Most of them are probably not going to pan out, because that's a tough business to pan out in, man. It's baseball. It's really, really tough. So, but we want to see what they have.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would just say this. I'd be really, really disappointed because of what Ramirez has provided. Like, I'm almost resigned to the fact that they are going to trade him this offseason or relatively soon. But if they trade him and then go out and sign some fill in the blank name, aging designated hitter, like, you're just spinning your wheels at that point, really.
We can clap for the front office, because they're one of the best in the business, top 3, and they're not 3. All we want, and that's correct. But if they do exactly that, trade Harold and then just sign a aging DH and a Duvall type, like just a dude like that's a blatant bad call. That's a blatant you messed up. That's a blatant what are you doing?
Right. Yeah. And I don't think the Rays are going to do that, but it remains to be seen for sure. All right. Final question here from our buddy and longtime listener, Brian Stark. Brian says, now that the Rays have made their big trade of Glass now, what's the play? In my brain, there are 3 directions. 1, another starter, i.e. Alex Wood, Montas, Junis, Manaea, Paxton. 2, catcher, Mitch Garver, Tom Murphy. 3, left-handed bat, Jock Peterson, Brandon Belt, Eddie Rosario, Jesse Winker.
Well, Brian, thank you for writing to us. Those are really good 3 avenues. Pitching, I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on a Manaea or a Montas. I wouldn't mind that at all. Again, you trust Rays pitching lab and pitching coaches like blindly. So you could get a nice Kluber year from them, The other ones,
we kind of touched on the other ones, how the catching position and the
Tom Murphy already signed a deal, didn't he?
Yeah, Tom Murphy already signed just a day or 2 ago, but
San Francisco, we touched on the catching and the DHing, also like Jock Peterson. Is he fun? Does he sound like a cool person in the clubhouse? 100%.
Yeah.
But And it doesn't. I'd rather see Mead. I'd rather see Caminero. Really.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm with you there. Now, his first bullet point there, I think that's where a move could and should be made, and we've seen it. There is a track record of the Rays doing this, of finding a stopgap veteran starter swingman, giving them a 1-year deal and maybe sweeten it with a team option or something. Find your next Rich Hill, find your next Michael Wacha, find your next Corey Kluber for, $5 to $9 million, a guy who could and would pitch in any role, and will give you, I don't know, 100 to 130 decent enough innings.
Yes.
I think that might be the move. And pretty much all those guys that Brian Stark listed should more or less fill the void, whether you wanted to go with Alex Wood or Montas or James Paxton or Manaea. I think they could fill that void. I mean, I'm sure there's some guys out there that, everybody wants a multi-year deal, more or less, but a 1-year prove it deal and then move on to another organization, or, where the Rays did with Rich Hill, where it was like, hey, we really just need you to be a rental for a couple months until some of our injured starters or injured pitchers are available again. And then we can move off on you.
Yeah. And, the evolution of Drew Rasmussen allowed for that. The imminent call of Shane Baz allowed for that.
Like, here's the thing, like Shane Baz, I mean, even James Paxton, who is coming off Tommy John surgery last year, I mean, he quoted, I read today that he said, a pitcher, their stuff doesn't really come back fully until a year after that first year back from Tommy John. So we may not see, like, we can't come in here with the impression that Shane Baz from game 1, start 1, appearance 1, that he's going to be like the Shane Baz that we saw in his major league debut. Like, there's going to be a learning curve and some growing pains to come with that.
If you're an OG Rays fan, you remember that's exactly what happened with JP Howell. Exactly what happened with JP Howell. And that's it takes 1 year for them to gain it back. With Baz, I know this might not be such a hot take, but he could start in AAA, man.
Yeah. And Rasmussen might be only used as a reliever this year, and maybe in perpetuity, because I think this is his third major surgery. And with Springs and Rasmussen, they're not coming back before the All-Star break. So that's already late July, August. That's 2 months of baseball. That's tough, man. That's tough. Yeah. And if we've learned anything, setbacks can and do happen, i.e. Tyler Glasnow.
Yep. Exactly.
So, yeah, so I think that might be the move. I mean, we've talked about it previously. The Rays, their rotation from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, there are some major question marks. So I wouldn't mind seeing a battle-tested dude that has some name recognition brought into the fold. I mean, I think the Rays are really going to try to be creative with a lot of things in 2024 and see what sticks. I mean, Tyler Alexander, I think they might even try to stretch him out. Davinsky, they've talked about stretching him out. So I know it's not sexy by any means, but that might be what they have to do to get through 162.
Yeah, and you could see the return of the opener and the bulk guy. Tyler Alexander could be a bulk guy. Davinsky could be a bulk guy. And then once you have Shane Baz already warmed up in May, okay, come up here, kid, and now you can have your spot. Yeah, a lot of things can happen, but definitely the pitching depth does seem slim, and it does seem like that should be the next thing to attack for the Rays.
Indeed. All right. Thank you all for the questions. We appreciate it. Keep them coming. In the meantime, hope you all have a wonderful day and holiday season. Stay safe, and we will talk to you soon.